but most leaders set very poor goals or they don't set them at all. And they need to do that so you have some objective that you can obtain. And as you go down and you're not obtaining it, what do we have to do differently to make a change so we can get to that goal? So those are the kind of things that most leaders fail to do when they do set a goal. They mostly set a wish. It's a wish. Okay, I want to do 5 million. Okay, well,
Yeah.
when? How? How are you going to do it?
Mark, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, before we get into today's topic, which is one of the powerful topic, and I'm excited for that, but I want to have you a little bit introduce yourself and tell our listeners about your journey, who you are, and what you do.
As I tell you, I hate talking about this, but I'll start. My leadership and my business getting involved in entrepreneurship really began with my dad. So I got an MBA in marketing and finance, and I worked for IBM for 13 years, but really set the groundwork for me in terms of how important quality is in communication and how important it is to service a customer. But I always knew I wanted to be my own entrepreneur. So I left IBM, started an internet company, did that for 3 years back in 1994. We sold that 3 years later. I went into doing consulting work and then started another business with two other businesses. We merged that. We sold that about 6 months later. I ran a nonprofit group called the Louisiana Technology Council in the United States, and the whole goal was to help bring technology to another level in the state. And I was very proud that Louisiana went from 49th out of 50 states to 32nd in terms of technology employment. That's always been my love. But then
Like,
again, I wanted to get back in entrepreneurial. So I did that. It was a turnaround situation. And now basically I help CEOs in multiple companies. I run CEO roundtables, and I've been doing that for the last 13 years, and with the whole idea to help CEOs implement programs, processes, procedures to help them accelerate their growth and what they're not doing, what they should be doing to become better leaders. So that's kind of where I am today. And of course, I was brought in as a co-founder of Evolve Media AI Corporation, which is a patented AI video technology company that takes multiple videos from multiple devices. And what we do is we cut and splice the best of those videos and create a single one for you automatically. And it's all done in minutes. We call ourselves the video GPT of Chat GPT. We have a
wow,
patent technology.
that's amazing. That's incredible. I
It's
love it.
fun. It keeps me energized. It keeps me young.
Well, I guess I gotta do that to keep young.
Yes.
Tip from you. I grasp that.
Thank you.
Wow, that was great. That was great. So before we dive into today's topic, actually, um, I'm a little bit curious to know from you, um, what experience, um, or let me generalize this a little bit. What experiences shaped your understanding of leadership?
That's a good question. I think my main experience came from my dad. He was a hard-driven person, but what I learned over the years is how important it is to have a human connection and human understanding and how to communicate. And so when I began with IBM, I wanted to get that base foundation of what it makes to make a company like IBM very successful. And there's a lot of qualities and different things that go into it, but not just on the products that they sell, but also what you need to do as an individual to help service other people. What I found out is the best way that you can serve yourself is to serve other people and take care of them by
Yeah.
giving them what they want, but more importantly, going what I call going beyond and providing something that they don't usually expect and doing the unusual things so they're memorable. And I think that's a key component that I learned over the years, not only from my dad, but also from all the people that I interact with, but also all the experiences that I actually obtained from other people. You can learn a lot from other people. So you have to continually be on a learning mode and take what you've learned that can be best for your company as it grows and expands. So I think that's kind of the basis. I've learned this over time, and being involved in business has really helped me take some of the knowledge and experiences that I've been able to use to make successful companies and give it to other companies so they can be successful.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. And one of the important thing I get from what you just said um, is to help other people to be great. And that's what actually matters the most. And if I
Correct.
can understand that better, is that's actually what makes a great leader, actually, you know.
No, there's no doubt about it. You know, a lot of people ask me why I wrote the book, Give a Damn, A Ticket to Cultural Change. And look, I am not an author. I didn't like English in school. I wasn't very good at it. But I saw something in the environment that really disturbed me. And what I saw was that people today are becoming more self-centered than ever before. And the key behind being successful is to be selfless
Mm.
versus self-centered. And when you're selfless, people will migrate to you because they take and you benefit, everybody benefits.
Yeah,
So that's what and I use that kind of as a calling card, as my theme called Give a Damn. When you care, when you give a damn about other people, everybody wins. Your health gets better. I mean, there's so many factors that go into it that creates better mind and body for the individual, both from the giver and the person who receives it.
that's amazing. That's amazing. And also from my own experience as well, um, the more I started helping people, the more I started seeing my own life, everything that I want to do, everything that I wished to do, start aligning itself because I just got into that path of, actually what you say, give a damn, caring about
Right.
people, caring about what people think, caring about what other people's vision is, not only my vision, but other people's vision as well, even though they are, into my, or if they're working for me or in my company. So caring about people is one of the most important thing. And that's, I agree with that. I don't know if anybody else agree with that. I think you have to work on your ego before.
Yeah, and I think the important point on this, Gloria, is this, is that when you give somebody something and you meet their needs, you should never expect anything in return because that's a fallacy. That means their thought process is, what's in it for me? That's not how it works. It'll come back.
Yeah,
It'll eventually always comes back to you. But the more you give, the more you're going to get back in return, but don't expect it. It'll happen automatically. So it's not what's in it for me attitude. It's what can I do for you? You're not always going to get it, but the end result is over time you're going to be far better off than you were if you think about what's in it for me attitude. And that's the danger that I think is happening in today's society.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And we can see it all around. I mean, most leaders, especially those ones who say that, um, I'm a great leader and this is what I've done, this is what I did, what this is the kind of product I launched, this is what kind of company I lead. And you can tell by just, by the um by people's experiences who coming into contact with such people. I don't really want to give out example. I don't want to call names, but there are quite a lot of people out there, great leaders, well known, like famous, well known leaders, who supposedly seems to be good leaders, but because they somehow manage to get to a certain level financially, then that becomes a little bit a manipulation to people to say that he is a great leader because he's able to accomplish such and such. But
Right.
in reality, the people that works for them, the people that come into contact with them, are not happy, and they always get out
Correct.
of that space empty without being um, without accomplishing their own goals. So that's the most important thing, you know.
Yeah, and I will tell you, you used a key word here. When a leader says I, I did this and I did that. That's the wrong way to communicate. It's always we. We're part
Mm.
of something. It's not just him or her. It's we did this. So the leader should always give credit to the people who have done the work
Yeah,
and always take the blame for when things go bad. That is identification of a really good leader. They give credit and they take blame.
that's true. That's true. That's very true. I agree with that. So, um, for the people that are watching now, I know we have quite smart people that are watching, but
Sure.
um, I wanted to get a little bit basics. How would you personally define leadership?
Who a leadership, that's a very good question. A leadership is not really defined by one thing. It's defined by multiple things and how good you are at all those multiple things. Leadership starts with a base foundation. When I do my CEO roundtables, we make sure that the leader has a vision, they have a mission statement, and they have core values. That creates the foundation of a company that everybody, what I call the family of the company, would buy into. So you
Yeah.
set those standards up front, and then you start implementing processes and procedures in place that can help these companies be successful. And when you do that, you give them the tools for them to be successful, and then you reward them, then you're creating a culture. I am so ingrained in making sure you have the correct culture in a corporation. And that's the number one criteria. You got to have good people that feel like they're part of something, and you got to hire the right people. And I have this slogan, it's called hire for culture, train for skill. That's more important. Most people, when they come in for a job, they have a skill level, but they may not have the attitude and the wherewithal to fit into the culture. So this guy can be great at what he does or she does, but not to fit into the culture, and that becomes toxic to the other people. So you got to make sure that you hire for culture, train for skill, and then if you have those toxic employees that are hurting the culture, you have to make sure that you do something to either get that person up to a level where they can be part of the culture, or you have to get rid of them. And a lot of times in my CEO roundtable, I always tell these people, you all need to know you need to make a decision in
Mm,
your company, but you haven't made that decision. A lot of this focuses around employees. They don't fire people when they should. It's slow to hire, quick to fire, right? So you got to make sure that you get rid of the C players, because the best way to lose A players is to tolerate C players. And
mm.
so those all factors come into play to make good leadership. So you need a base foundation. You need to implement processes and skills and procedures and strategies to help them do their job really well. You need to reward them, and you need to have the right people in the culture to help become a really successful company.
Wow, that's amazing. That's pretty powerful. And one of the things as well that I just grabs is that what you said about the people that you have around you, and they should have the attitude to, to be led and, to
Sure.
kind of blend into into your leadership circle. I think that's one of the important thing as well. And in part of the world where I am right now, most people are struggling with that idea. They come with an attitude that makes some other leaders' lives difficult. So, because some leaders as well, they are not in that level of understanding, so they kind of like just accept that attitude, and it kind of shape how they lead everybody else. So I think some leaders also struggle with, self-awareness as well. So, and yeah, I think it's one of the downfall of a leader. You can see yourself as a great leader, but until you understand how to, uh, what's the word? How to kind of not, I don't want to use the word shape, but how to influence your circle's attitude so that
Yep.
everybody can be on the same page. I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah.
No, no, you're right. And what you're talking to about the surrounding Lodi is how do I communicate to employees in a way that can really build them up? And then how can I also implement empathy
Mm.
for things that happen within an organization? So a good leader has that what I call tough love, right? They have the communication skills, very, very important. How do you communicate to someone to help lift them up in a way that not makes them defensive, but also how can I be empathetic? How can I do this kind of things that might help improve their lives, not only professionally, but also personally?
Yeah,
That enters into the play. Having that connection with somebody in a way that you got to be careful because you don't want to get too friendly with these people, but you got to make sure that you have what I call the tough love. You,
yeah,
you, you can't assume or make that assumption that you get too close to somebody that they're gonna want more. So you got there's a balance that you got to make sure you take advantage of
yeah,
or
that's
you
true.
implement.
That's true. I love the word balance. That's very important. I love that you mentioned.
Yep.
Yeah, but um, so I have this question. Um, actually, I also asked one of the leaders back in the days. I got an answer, but I didn't get like the perfect answer. That not a perfect answer, but a a well concrete answer. But I know it's everybody's different. Everybody's opinion is different. But I want to hear from you.
Sure.
Do you think leadership today is different from leadership, back in, 10 to 20 years ago?
Yeah, I think leadership is more difficult today than it's ever been. And the reason being is because society has changed. I know the younger workforce today feels a little bit more entitled than they did several years ago.
Yeah.
Their expectation is that they come into work and they basically can dictate what they want. That can happen to a degree, but at the same time, the leader needs to make sure that they have adjustments. He or she makes adjustments that can satisfy everybody without showing favoritism. So it's very difficult because there was more structure and there was more rhythm and there was more commitment. But now today, because of the change in workforce and the remote workforce, all those kind of things make leadership a little bit more difficult. However, like my dad said, leadership starts with a base foundation, with an attitude, with the processes and procedures you put in place. You can find the right people. You got to make sure you hire the right people. But that foundation really hasn't changed over the years. You just have to get the right people, which is a little bit more difficult because the attitude today's workforce is different than it was 40 years ago.
Wow. Yeah. That's true. That's true. And in today's technology, everything is evolving so fast, and we gotta catch up with a lot of things. And yeah, that's true. That's quite helpful. And in your opinion, um, what's the difference between, because I get that a lot as well, you know, the difference between a manager and a leader, in your opinion?
Yeah. The difference between a manager and leader is a leader is who people want to follow, and a manager is someone that people work for.
Mm,
Now think about that. Follow a leader, work for a manager. That's the real key. Now, managers can be leaders, but they got to implement the same kind of things that the leader would implement. But a lot of times, if you have someone that can work for a manager, you don't have those leadership skills. If you come 9 to 5, you do your work and you go home. No, if I'm a leader and I want people to follow me, they're going to come in. They might come in at 8 o'clock. They may leave at 6 p.m. Whatever number time, but they're there because they want to follow you and go with you because of what you do in your leadership skills and abilities to make them successful.
wow, that's great. And this actually will lead us um to the main idea of today's topic actually. So, in your opinion, what leadership threat are most important for company success?
I think the most important leadership trait is first, it's not you build on leadership, you build on that foundation. But I think having the right people in the right seats with the right tools and processes, with the right culture is what defines a really effective leader. That's the bottom line. make sure you hire the right people, make sure you have the retain the right people by providing them with goals. Everybody should have a goal in their organization. You reward them based on goals, and then making sure you get rid of those toxic people. Culture is everything. If you
Yeah.
just define a culture and make sure you have the right culture, everything works. Everything works.
Mm, amazing. That's true. That's true, actually. So, just a follow-up question. I, which I believe with your experience, um, so I want to hear from you if you have encountered or seen, or let me say, if you can share with our listeners any kind of example where you actually saw that kind of threat make a real big difference, in company or in a
Yeah.
leadership setting.
One of the things I developed, Lodi, is a special way to hire people. It's called the unthinkable approach to hiring. And basically, it's totally different. Nobody's ever done it before. But when you hire because you want to define how a person thinks, how they react, and how they respond to questions. So
Yeah,
if I'm going to hire you, Glodia, I'm going to say, look, I am going to say one or two prompts, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. There are no right or wrong answers. And I have a list of 90 of these prompts. So one prompt I'll go, favorite color. Well, what's that got to do with anything? Someone says blue, someone says red. Red is a harder color, softer color is blue. So that tells you a little bit about that person.
yeah,
Favorite actor, they say whatever they say, or favorite car. If someone says a Maserati or a Camry, says a little bit something about that. If 5 words that best describe you, and
mm,
they have single words that best describe you, is another way.
yeah,
And then there's a bunch of other prompts. But what happens is it develops a pattern of how people think and what their interest level is. And there's 90 of them, and I just go through it. I'm going to know everything about you in 10 minutes to see
wow,
whether you're going to fit in that culture. And it's not like you measure it, but you're going to get a gut feel. And I will tell people, whatever your gut tells you is usually right. Don't negate it.
yeah,
Understand it. And it keeps telling you, telling you, telling you. There was a lady that it was in my roundtable. I said, look, she said she had this great manager. She loved what she did. She had a great past. I said, Maria, before you hire her, go through this interview process with your team. And they have a booklet, they go through it. So she went through that hiring process. And guess what?
mm,
Everybody said, no, 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 we're not going to hire her. Her attitude wasn't what everybody expected it. She came across the interview really well, but when she answered these questions, it didn't fit. When you hire somebody that doesn't fit, it creates big problems, and it's very, very costly. So it's a
wow,
little bit different. You got to hire the right people in the right seats and give them the right processes for them to succeed.
that's right, that's right. Do you think leaders are born with this kind of trait, or it's something that they can develop over time?
Well, some are, most are not. They have to develop a skill. Because look, when a baby's born, they don't have anything, right? They
Yeah,
have to learn everything. They might have some innate abilities and might have these characteristics, but most leaders can be born, can be taught how to lead. As long as they go through a basic structure and a basic process and understand what makes a company successful and what makes a leader successful and how they can help other people become successful, you can learn that trait. Just like when you go to school and you learn math, you learn
yeah,
English. Probably some of those topics you like, some you don't, but you're going to get eventually very good at it. The more you learn and the more you read books about leadership, all these kind of things get into a situation. But you're right. You mentioned it. As long as you give a damn about people, I think you're good.
yeah, definitely. That's great. That's great. And uh, I want to be on the other side. I want to stand for other people as well, and other leaders who might have who are watching us now. Actually, I want them to kind of get to a position where they feel like, they feel like shaking. I want them to tell themselves like, I've been doing it wrong, or I've been doing some things wrong. So this is something that kind of wakes my, my ability a little bit, um, uh, to strengthen my ability a little bit. So I want to hear from you. Um, what are some of the common mistakes that leaders make in today's world?
First of all, nobody's done it wrong. They're just learning. It's what I call experiences. So when they go through these things and they say they're doing it wrong, they're experiencing something and eventually can change a wrong into making it right. I think the biggest mistake that most leaders do is they don't have that base foundation in place of having a vision, a mission, and then most leaders, and they're very, I've done these roundtables for 13 years. Most leaders do not set very good goals.
Mm,
You have to have a goal once you set your base foundation and you give a goal, whether it's a financial goal, a personal goal, but everybody on the team needs to have goals. And when they exceed those goals, then they get rewarded for it. But how do you measure someone's performance unless you set a goal, the company goal? They got to have goals. You give them the processes and procedures to help meet those goals. But most leaders set very poor goals or they don't set them at all. And they need to do that so you have some objective that you can obtain. And as you go down and you're not obtaining it, what do we have to do differently to make a change so we can get to that goal? So those are the kind of things that most leaders fail to do when they do set a goal. They mostly set a wish. It's a wish. Okay, I want to do 5 million. Okay, well,
yeah,
when? How are you going to do it? So I want to make a particular goal has to be what they call SMART, and you're probably familiar with this. It has
yeah,
to be
yeah,
specific, measurable, attainable, timely, realistic, and timely. Got to set those goals. Most of them do it terribly. I
yeah.
was amazed.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And um, once they understand, or let me shape it in this way, how can they improve when they realize that they have those kind of weakness? Is there a way, or is there any kind of strategy that will help them accelerate that particular, you know, um, skill that they need to develop, or some kind of awareness?
Yeah, well, they need to hire you. They need a mentor. They need somebody that can help them guide it. It's like you go on a basketball team, you have a coach,
Yeah,
right? The coach tells you what you need to do, how you can be a better basketball player. Same
yeah,
in business. I don't think a lot of leaders get that. Get an experienced coach that has experience in success and what they've done as a CEO and as a successful business, but they ought to hire a mentor or a leadership coach or executive coach to help them guide through that process over time. They'll be very successful. That's how it works. I mean, that's what coaches do. Now in the basketball or baseball, coaches help you succeed, and that's the best way to do it and to learn.
yeah, definitely. That's true. That's true. I agree with that. So you heard
Right.
that if you want to grow, if you want to beat those weaknesses, you better hire me. I'm joking.
That's right.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Hire a coach. Like, that's what business coaches are for, the leadership, to
yeah,
share their experiences and their successes and their processes and the foundation to be successful.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, this might be a little bit cliche, or repetitive kind of, sayings. I know that most people agree with this, but in your opinion, do you think failures can actually make someone a better leader?
Yeah, all leaders fail. I've done it 100 times. And the best way to be successful is to fail, but
Yeah,
take the failures as a learning experience. Look, the fear of failure is a great motivator. So what you want to do is, sometimes leaders have a hard time making mistakes, and they don't make decisions. You got to make decisions and not keep decisions in the back of your mind for fear of failure. Make the decision, learn from the decision, make the best decision based on the risk reward relationship, and go forward. Sometimes you make a decision into a market that doesn't work out. Okay, well, we went through the whole process, we did all the right things, it failed, we need to move on. Make those decisions quickly. Don't harbor and spend good money after bad money. Make decisions, go for it, If you fail, learn from it, and then continue to go forward.
Yeah, that's true. And the reason why I actually bring that up because most people take it for granted. They take it so lightly. They're like, we heard of that. A lot of motivation speakers they speak about that. You have to fail. You have to do this. You have to fail in order to grow. People kind of overheard it. Like it becomes a little bit. Um, People don't care about that particular ideology anymore. But it's such a powerful thing because failure actually is the only way you can actually evolve. Because if you never encounter anything in your life, how do you expect yourself to get over beyond anything that you wish to do or want to do in life? So, you know, you have to get out there, you have to do it even if you fail, because most people are afraid of, if I fail, am I not wasting time? People are doing it. A lot of people are ahead of me. I want to keep
Sure.
myself safe in a safe place. I don't want to fail. I don't want to waste time. But you know
But take this into account. And I tell everybody all the time, it always works out.
yeah.
Always works out. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah. That's a powerful one. That's a powerful one. I agree with that. It always works out, at the end of it.
Exactly.
I mean, we can testify. I mean, I myself I've failed. How many times I've failed, and I'm still here. I'm
Yes,
talking to you, Mark. I mean, it
right.
works out.
It always works out.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
first of all, it's never as bad as it seems, and it's never as good as it seems. So
Yeah,
don't let those two factors, high and low, affect you. Regroup, do what you need to do, and those two things, it's never that way.
yeah, true. All right, that was so powerful, Mark. And so now, as we're heading to the closing of this powerful episode, I want to get some little bit insight and, if I may say, advice for the people that are watching. For someone who want to become a leader one day, what should they start developing now, in your opinion?
Well, I think everybody can be a born leader if or a developed leader if they have the passion and wherewithal to do it. And that passion and wherewithal comes from the back of your mind of what can I do to help people succeed? And so when you have that base foundation of creating a company that has a mission statement, a vision statement, some core values, and the processes and procedures that you put in place, that's a critical key component going forward to establish a rhythm and a structure for people to be successful. But that doesn't determine your ultimate success. Ultimate success of a leader is determined by how you get the right people in the right seats with the right culture, with the right processes and procedures, and the right attitude to help them become successful. Establishing goals. What's more important on this, though, is you're going to have failures along the way, but have the wherewithal that a failure is a teaching moment, not a way to say, okay, I don't know if I'm good at this. You can be good at this with the right attitude and the right thinking that how can I make everybody successful? And by everybody being successful, this company becomes successful and everybody shares in that success. That takes time. It's not an overnight process. You got to develop this over several years and create that structure and foundation. The whole idea is if you're leading a company, when you create the structure and foundation, you don't have to be there. It's
Yeah,
going to run by itself. So make sure that when you become a CEO of a company or a leader, create that foundation so the company can succeed even if you're not there. And you're going to benefit from not being there over time. So those are a lot of critical elements that go into it. And again, there's communication elements. You got to make sure you communicate. Use the word we instead of I. All those kind of things enter it. These little things
yeah.
enter into being a successful leader. And look, one thing that we didn't talk about yet is what I call the attitude of gratitude.
Mm, mm,
Complimenting people on the work they've done is a rarity these days. Just saying, hey, Claudia, you did a great job in this project. I really appreciate that. And here, look, here's a $50 gift certificate. Go have fun on the company because you went above and beyond. Those things go a long way. Sending out thank you notes to your customers. You don't ever see that. They never, who writes a letter or a thank you note to people? That doesn't happen anymore. That people remember. It's the little things that make people remember who you are. That's important. It's the little things are much better than the big things. So a lot of those factors go in. It's as good as a lot of these factors. But if you don't have that base foundation, you're just going down a path. It's like, okay, how do I get to Cape Town? Well, if you don't have a map and you're 100 miles away, how are you going to get there? You got to have a plan to be able to drive to get there. It's the same with a company. Have a plan to drive the company forward and execute that plan.
Wow, amazing, amazing. That's a powerful advice. And if you could give one leadership principle that companies should prioritize now, what would that be?
Well, we went through a lot of them. I don't think there's one principle that you could really hone in on. I think this the base foundation and the things we talked about earlier. But just have an attitude of gratitude, have a give a damn attitude, take care of your people, and everything works out for the best. And look, and take responsibility for the bad things and give credit for all the good things that happen. And people appreciate that. And be humble. Look, I can take out the garbage as a CEO just like anybody else. And just because you're a leader doesn't mean you can't step in and help somebody, even if it's kind of a low level task. Do it. That's what good leaders do. Nothing is beneath them, nothing is beneath the leader. Do the kind of things that can help people, regardless of what position they are. So that kind of attitude is also important.
Amazing, amazing. That's powerful. And this we can go on and on and on.
No, you could. I'm very passionate about this, if you can't tell. I've learned a lot over the years, and I love helping CEOs really implement these kind of things over time. And I get a great satisfaction, and you do too, when you help someone and they succeed and they get better and better at it. Boy, that's all I need. And when someone just says thank you, I'm fine. I'm good knowing that I've helped somebody get to where they need to be, and my experiences and the things that I've shared with them can help them.
Wow, this was powerful, Mark. And yeah, I truly appreciate your value. And this conversation was just mind blowing. I mean, we take some of these things for granted, but hearing them over and over again with different perspectives, like you just brought now, just makes it another powerful experience. So before we wrap up, actually, where can our listeners connect with you or learn more about your work and your
Well,
stuff like
if they want to learn more about me, they can go to my website. It's Mark Lewis, LEWIS, marklewis.LLC.com. They can learn about my hiring technique. They can learn about my book. They can learn about my processes and the procedures. I have a CEO facilitator playbook uh, that leadership coaches can implement. It's got everything mapped out. There's a lot on that website. I have an Instagram account too. Just go look up giveadamnbook.com. I mean, all that stuff most of you can get from my website.
amazing, great.
Send me
And
an email too. I'll take emails. mlewis at marklewisllc.com. I'm happy to help people out.
amazing, amazing, great. As you guys can see, Mark is passionate about helping people. You actually um, see it on his episode. So you're welcome to contact him, reach out to him, check his work. It's amazing. I promise you, you won't regret that. And to everybody else that listening, thank you so much. And I appreciate your time, your ears. And remember, leadership is not just about titles. It's about influence, responsibility, and the ability to inspire others towards a shared vision. So, with that being said, Mark, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. And it's been an incredible, incredible time. And I hope other people and leaders who are watching, they are going to learn a lot and they can rewatch this episode over and over. You're welcome to do that because this will help you grow in your journey. Any last word you
Yeah,
have?
you put it perfectly. I enjoyed our time together, and I know you feel the same way as I do, and you're doing a great job in getting this word out to the people. that can help them. And I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Sure.
guys. Till next time. Bye.
Bye bye.